companies that are utilizing it to help drive are the ones that are much more transformational and having more success.
Hey, what's up YouTube? Jeremiah Hersey here, and today is the next episode in my Node to Pro series. I'm going to be talking about measure tools. In the last video, we talked about the difference between explicit and implicit measures. Implicit are automatically created by Power BI through that default aggregation, and explicit measures are user-defined using DAX that we create. Well, today we're going to talk about how to change the formatting of those measures that we create, how to change the home table, and the properties that are associated to it. This is going to be located inside the Measure Tools tab as we select a measure. If you want to follow along, there's a link in the description to download the PBIX file. Let's go ahead and get started. So here we are where we left off last time, and we had created a total profit measure. I'm just going to go ahead and select that so you can see it real quick. So total profit is just the sum of the profit column. Now, when we go to create other measures and we're going to reference profit, I briefly spoke in the last video about not referencing the home table. So let's talk about that now. So if you select the name of your measure, total profit here, and you look at the top of the screen, you're going to notice that it's highlighted under the Measure Tools section. This is where you're going to go to format any of your values. Notice here I can put a $sign here so you can change the currency. If you click the drop down here, you have all your different currency options. You can change it to a percent, add a comma separator, change the decimal places. This is how you change the decimal places. So I can go down to 1 here. You'll see it drop down 1 decimal place. That's your choice. You can change that. But one of the most important things to kind of bring your attention to is this over here. So once again, we're inside the Measure Tools tab. So to get there, you have to select the name of the measure. So click on the name. Measure Tools will appear. And notice we have the home table. In the last video, I talked about how measures can live in any table that they want to, called a home table. And as we go to start reference these explicit measures, remember the benefit is that we can call out to these measures over and over again and reuse them. So we're going to create a new measure here that's going to be the same thing, total profit, but I'm going to reference this total profit measure and then we're going to move it. And you're going to see what happens. And this is why when you're referencing measures, you only want to call out to the name of the measure and not the table that it's living in. So we're going to go right click and we're going to choose a new measure here. And this isn't going to be a crazy calculation. We're going to calculate profit, but we're just going to reach out and use that total profit measure that we've already created. So I'm going to call this profit 2. I'm going to use a calculate statement. We'll talk about this more in later videos. For now, what I want to explain is what happens when this measure is moved from the home table. So here, notice I have the option. I can use a single tick mark and call it to the measures table, the total profit measure. Or I can use a square bracket and just call out to the measure itself. It is best practice to call out to the name of the measure itself rather than the table that it lives in. The reason for that is you'll notice if I select measures total profit here, we'll go ahead and return this and we'll add it to our visual. What you're going to see is it calculates total profit just fine until things start to change. So once again, we talked about how I can select the name of the measure. So select the name of the measure we just created, profit 2. Measure tools appear. This is where we can format it. So I can click the drop down arrow here and I can format this as a currency. Their English United States currency there. And notice that we're getting the same exact answer for total profit and profit to. But I want you to watch what happens to the profit to measure when this total profit measure is removed from the measures table. Remember, measures can live in any table. So watch what happens here. So I'm going to go ahead and select the total profit measure, and I'm going to change the home table with inside of measure tools. So here's where you change the home table. You can choose any table that you want to. So I'm going to select the sale table. Now watch what happens to our profit to measure. Notice that our visual now breaks. There's something wrong. Well, watch. We can fix it. Instead of calling out to the table, so the problem is that it's referencing the measures table. Well, if we look over here on the right-hand side, there is no total profit in that table anymore. That's the issue. So best practice, what you want to do is always just call out to the name of the measure itself. That way, it doesn't matter what table it's in, it will work. All right? So we'll go ahead and run this real quick. Notice that I'm just calculating total profit this time. And we're going to see that our visual is going to render just perfectly. So when you're referencing measures you've already created, it is very important to not reference the home table in which the measure lives. Only call out to the measure itself, and this will prevent your visuals from breaking if a measure ever gets changed to a different home table. Last thing, let's move this back here. So I'm going to select total profit. I'm going to select the home table selection here, and I'm going to move it back into the measures table. I like to keep all of my measures located in one place. It makes them easier to find. I want to thank you so much for joining me, and if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more content, and I'll see you in the next one.